If you guys were around for the last SVT Cobra video, then you know I ended on a very high note.
Oh man, it's music to my ears. Yes.
And currently it's about 30 minutes after the filming of that video, and as you can tell, Happy Alex is no longer, and I've started to take apart the engine on the Cobra. The car wouldn't shift.
It may not be shifting out of first,
Which I was okay with, honestly. We got this thing running and driving after 21 years. But now, I think I have some serious engine issues. Let me show you what I found in the last half hour. Guys, this is totally insane.
230, 240, 216. All right, that one's a little lower.
All right, so as you can see there, one of the primaries was about half the temperature as the other ones. And you can look at O2 sensor readings till you're blue in the face, but they're all collected right at the end of a collector, which combines 4 cylinders. So you might be getting a reading that looks okay, but you could in fact still have an issue. So we need to start by pulling that plug and making sure it's not fouled out. Of course, we have to pull a plug on the hard side because we have this intake tube, but no biggie. I just loosened everything up and just connected our connectors. And we have our coil cover. And this would be the cylinder in question. I have gone through a couple of different tune revisions. When we had it running the last time, it was just kind of shaking around a little bit. So I got another one with less fuel. So it's possible we fouled out the plugs, and then also with the harness that was in here. Who knows, some of these might not have been firing at all. What do we got? Yeah, okay. That is definitely, woo, that's gasoline. That is 93 octane. Okay, so that plug's probably not firing at all. That would make sense. The other ones seem to be firing. All the other ones are around that 210 to 240 degree range, so we know they're working. So let's clean this up, see if we can resurrect it. And I'll do fresh plugs before the dyno. So I'll just use a little wire brush, clean it up. A little shot of the brake clean, and some more wire brush. All right, it's ready. This is where you install in reverse order.
Fire's right up. It's right off idle that we're feeling for any, inconsistencies. And this does take a little bit of time to warm up. All right, let's laser. Nope. All right. Well, that's an issue. That's definitely an issue.
All right, I've removed power from the fuel pump and put a brand new spark plug in here. I just want to make sure that we are getting spark from the coil. Yeah, we got a little spark, okay. I just want to compare that spark with another one. Go ahead. Okay. This is the suspect plug. Let's see if this fires. It does a little. Okay. We probably just have a fouled out plug, but let's just check compression. We have no compression. Huh. Okay, guys, we don't have any compression. There is a lot of fuel. There's a lot of fuel. Okay, could have washed out the cylinder. The piston itself looks fine, so that's good. All right, I've cleaned up in here a little bit just by blowing some air. There's still some fuel, but let's put some oil in here and hope it seals up. And if it doesn't, I am in very, very big trouble. That means we have a dead cylinder and everything's engine out. That's for sure. If there's anything that's gonna give me some luck, it's my 100-year-old trusty oil can that I bring with me everywhere. So this just has some conventional motor oil in it, and I'm running a little tube down. All right, I'll just pump a little bit of oil in here, get it all around. There we go. All right, I went a little crazy there. I'll blow some shop air around just to get it everywhere, and I'll crank it over a few times as well. Hang on, I've gotten a little carried away. I can't stand working in a super dirty work environment. So it's time for release. This is by far the best all-surface cleaner I've ever used. I have given this to friends and family just out of amazement and how good it works, and they all love it too, and it's made in Wisconsin. So Release has their really nice pumper, or you can get a normal spray bottle, and take a look at what it does to these nasty tailpipes. Spray a little Release inside and out. Look at this This is all carbon buildup, and we're able to just simply wipe it away. So this is what it looked like before, and here's what it looks like after. Nice and chrome again. This works great on stubborn engine parts. Let it soak for a minute, and it gets it right off. Bam. So forget using brake clean and then inhaling all those horrible chemicals. This is made with no phosphates or harsh chemicals whatsoever. And look what it does. This is probably my favorite use for release, is in the inside of cars and upholstery at your house as well. I mean, it's just so good. It works on the leather, the plastic, literally everything.
And release is amazing at home. Show your wife this part. I just made a big greasy mess here on the stove. A little bit of release. Ooh, goodbye.
Look at how caked up this grease is. Let it sit for a minute. Look at that. This is the best I can do for a tape line before and after on a grill. I mean, this has been baked on for literally years. Look at the difference. So you can buy their ready-to-use spray bottle, but if you buy their 1 gallon concentrate, it will make 80 of these for just about $1 each. So you're gonna get an amazing made in America product that works so well for only about $1 for a 32-ounce bottle. And if you wanna save even more money, you can click on my link down below, use coupon code LEGIT. That's gonna get you 10% off your order, and you're gonna get free shipping in the lower 48 if you spend over 75 bucks. Support a good old American company that makes a phenomenal product right here. Click on that link. Now let's get back to another American-made product. Compression tester's hooked up. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So obviously we have no compression. I'm going to hook up my 1964 leak down test. Give it some shop air. And then we're gonna send it into the cylinder, like so. And it's reading 85% cylinder leakage. And yeah, that's with the, the valve supposedly closed. I can feel air coming through the intake. It could definitely indicate that we have an intake valve that's leaking completely. Wow, yeah, we definitely have air coming through here. All right. So here's my thought right now. Best case scenario, we take a valve cover off and we find that this thing has a spun cam lobe. Let me show you what I'm talking about. It's weird. I'm used to camshafts that are just made of one solid piece of metal, but Ford uses these. They have pressed on cam lobes. So these could actually spin, and theoretically, they could spin in a way where the lobe would have opened the valve sooner than it needed to be opened, and it could have hit a piston, or it just could be completely out of valve timing and just stuck open like the whole time. So one of those two. That would be great. Check this out, guys. I'm looking at the piston, which I've done this before. I looked at all of them before I put the engine in. Everything looked fine. Look at the right-hand side of the screen. You see that little UFO dark shadow? That does look like a valve, like just grazed a piston, just barely. Oh, let's hope that valve's okay. Please be okay. I'm gonna pull the rest of these coils right now. We're gonna get this valve cover off and inspect the cams. It's gotta be our next move right now. Come on, Cobra, please, don't let me down. Make things easier and remove this throttle body. And by easier, I think we absolutely have to remove the throttle body because it's totally in the way. Okay, I'll take our PCV tube off. And a fuel line. Fuel line number 2. There we go. And a bunch of 13s. All right, valve cover's loose. Getting this valve cover out really stinks. There's a heater hose back here. I think I might have to disconnect. The engine's still hot right now, so I can't do that just yet. Come on. Oh no, what is that? What? Guys, do you see this? Hold on. Oh no, this is a rocker. Oh, this is hot. No. Why are you here, rocker? Why? Oh, that's seriously hot. Why is a rocker off? You're not supposed to be off. Yeah, it looks overall undamaged, actually. But why? This thing was running great. We checked the temperature of all the runners before, and they were all perfect. It was fine. It made no noises. Nothing indicated any issues. And we got a rocker. All right, figured out how to weasel this out. Great, now we can see more carnage. Yay. Let's see what we have going on in here. So here is where the rocker is supposed to be. That's the top of the valve, which does not look damaged at all. And I was kind of expecting to see a broken spring. That would cause a valve to float and hit a piston, and then it could bend it. But man, these springs, they feel great. I can only see one side. I'll have to get the borescope in here. That looks fine. Here's what the other end of the rocker sits on. It's basically a pivot point, and that looks totally fine too. There's no damage, and it does not look like the cam lobe has spun or that there's any issues. I seriously, I don't see a smoking gun whatsoever on the top end, but that rocker definitely just fell down to the bottom, and luckily it didn't get jammed up in anything else. Everything else looks great. So that's nice. Here's the spring up close. You can see the seal in there as well. I don't see any issues right now. This is the spring right next to it. It looks the same. You guys have seen me take the intake off before. So here's our upper plenum and our gasket. And we're gonna remove our fuel line here. Okay, remove all of our injector clips. That's good. And we just have some 10 millimeters for the intake manifold. All right, we should be able to pull the intake off now. There we go. Coolant pipe's gotta come up. I've already drained the coolant and obviously did a lot of this work. You guys have seen me take the intake manifold on and off before, and I just really wanna get this off so we can see the intake valve and probably see that it is messed up. Goodbye, intake. Guys, you are not gonna believe what is jammed inside of this engine. I actually don't even know what this is at this point. Do you see in there? You see that piece of metal? I know it's hard to see, but it's literally jamming the valve open right now. Okay, here's a better look. It looks like an injector clip. That's all I can say. It looks like an injector clip. Luckily, what it's kind of jammed up against there is just the intake runner. That's not a sealing surface, and it is holding the valve up. Yeah, there you go, guys. That to me looks like an injector clip, and it's just barely holding the valve up. What's nice is it looks like the valve is open evenly everywhere. Guys, this is totally insane. This is insane, okay? Remember, this is an engine that was fully assembled. It had the intake and everything already on there. I never even removed it. I gotta tell you, any used engine I get, I'm now gonna be removing the intake and just shaking it and cleaning it. That must have been left inside of the intake manifold somehow. I don't know, but here's the weird thing. These cars don't use injector clips at all. This is it. This is how they're held in. So on some cars, there's a little clip that slides in here, and that's what that looks like. But that looks like a completely foreign part from a totally different car. And it's possible that, it was in the intake and we drove it, and when we let off, because, it was stuck in like first gear, we let off, and then it's got a lot of vacuum and there's a lot of sucking action. So it didn't happen right away, because I drove this car for probably like a grand total of 45 minutes, and it was good. It was fine. After the whole video was done, I just had it running in the shop, just kind of looking things over off camera. And I'm like, yeah, I think this thing is missing like on one cylinder. And it was. I don't know, but what I do know is that there is a possibility that I don't have to rip this engine apart. There's a possibility that if we do everything right, we can get that clip out without disassembly, and it could seal up 50-50. If the valve isn't damaged or bent, it should suck right back up and seal. The thing is, if I drop that into the cylinder, because I have to open the valve to get it out, I'm in bad shape. The head's got to come off. I don't think there's any way I fish that out. There's no way. I need like 3 backup plans of holding that clip before I even attempt anything. Luckily, I have the old engine, the blown up one from the Cobra, to kind of experiment on. So I've just set up the exact situation that I have going on over there on the ground with this essentially bad head, because valves are broken, it's all messed up. So I loosened up the cam and I removed a rocker, and I'm just trying to figure out the easiest way to just gently push this valve down, because there isn't a ton of spring pressure. You can do it. So basically, if I just gently use a pry bar, I can move this valve. It's very easy, and we just needed to move a tiny amount. So this is it. This is all I need, and it should release that clip, but I need to have that thing lassoed, magnetized, pliers on it. I want 3 different methods to ensure that I can get it out, because I might have just like hit the lottery with this, but I don't want to lose my lottery ticket after winning. If that makes any sense. All right, here's what I figured out. I have pliers, and I can grip the ear of that clip, and then on the other side, I have a magnet attached to it. Here's what I'm gonna do. I have my pry bar wrapped in a microfiber, because we're right next to the cam, and if I put it right over the valve here, I'll be able to pry. I don't really have a grip on this thing. That's the problem. All right, I got to grind this tool down. Just a cheapo from Harbor Freight. I'm not able to get this to go down all the way to grab onto the clip. All right, that should definitely help. All right, I'm able to tug on this clip. We have it magnetized. Max, if you want to go ahead and push that thing down. Very gentle. Okay, that's good. Okay, keep it right there if you can. Oh, this is so nerve-wracking. This is seriously like doing surgery. It's not budging though. I got a pick in here. I'm gonna try and kind of slide it. Okay, it's moved. I got it. Okay. From what I can see, the valve looks sealed right now. We had to get a bigger pry bar in there to go down more. This is a totally foreign object from this engine. This is nothing that was ever in here. Oh my gosh, guys, are you kidding me? Now, here's what I'm noticing. I mean, this is a pretty weak, thin piece, and it's not mangled, like, so the valve didn't like crush it and beat it up. It's honestly still a usable part. So my hope is that it didn't damage the seat or the valve, you know, or anything. So we're gonna find out right now, because now the valve is fully up. Let me show you. You can see here the valve is closed. There's a little bit of marks from the pick, but that doesn't matter. That's just the intake runner. But yeah, that valve looks sealed right there where we can see it. All right, guys, we have our 1964 leak down tester. We'll put in our fitting, shoot some air in there. This would be an excellent time for a prayer, song, dance, whatever. So both these valves are closed. Okay, that's good. That's good. I know this gauge is a little messed up, but it's on this side of the needle. It's not on this side of the needle. So, you know, it's saying 0% leakage. There's no such thing, but it's sealed. Guys, it's sealed. We got to check compression. We had 0 before. Oh, yes. That's all I got to say. The difference between that not fixing it and fixing it would have been like at least a couple weeks worth of work. We would have to take the whole motor apart, the head possibly sent out to a machine shop. You guys know how much I love machine shops. 1 year it took me to get my engine back for that. This would have been just a massive setback, and it's just not. It's just not. And I mean, I knew this lesson, but this is just a great reminder for me. A used engine, even a complete, fully assembled, ready to just plop in engine, you have to look at all the valves. You have to remove the intake manifold or get a borescope in there, whatever you got to do, and just make sure there is nothing in there, because you never know. So right now we have to reinstall the rocker arm. Remember, this thing just kind of fell out once that valve got stuck, which is a very good thing, and nothing got damaged on the way out. But basically these rockers are not bolted in, so they're just held down by the cam lobe, and because that valve was held, there was nothing on the base lobe of the cam to hold it down, so it just fell out, which is great. Had it not fallen out and it continued to move, it would have just beaten that valve into that clip. Yeah, so just extreme luck here. So I'm just going around and I'm loosening this up in the proper order. So this is reverse of the install order. We should have enough to slide it in. With everything loose, we're gonna try and slide this in. Okay, I think we're in. And here's our rocker installed with the cam loosened up. We could fit the roller in between the base part of the cam. We're good. All right, just have to torque everything down now. I've gone around torquing, so I just have a couple left to do. 10 Newton meters. These are not torque to yield bolts, so we're good. Let's get the valve cover intake back on. Oh, I'm gonna do a little bit more cleaning here because there's just a random nut in there. I mean, that wouldn't have sucked in, but not taking any chances, people. So this valve cover was a complete nightmare to remove, and I'm hoping it'll be easier with the intake out of the way. We'll see. May have 0 effect whatsoever on the difficulty level here, but do whatever I can to make this easier. It's a lot easier when, you know, you have the engine out. We're not taking this out if we don't have to. Give it the old ninja touch. Okay, ninja touch just kind of jammed it in there. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Woo! Did it. That was much easier with the intake. Just that little bit of a clearance. It helped. Thank you. Now, it's really not that bad, but whatever. Before we put the rest together, I have the pipe over at Fluid Motor Union. We want to install a different mass airflow sensor. The one I used before was from the Lightning and was temporary. And so for this, we need to weld on this slot so the new mass airflow sensor can fit in like this. And this is proper for a 3-inch pipe, and will make tuning a million times easier. So this is all cleaned up, ready to go. Since we have the intake off while we're in there, we're gonna put some much larger fuel injectors in from my friends at Fuel Injector Connection. So these are 850 cc, and they do require a little adapter that just clicks on really nice and clean. So now we've converted this from the EV6 to the EV1 plug, which is what the Cobra harness uses. So anyway, this is gonna be much easier right here. We just have a few 10s. And we might lose a wee bit of fuel Top of the morning to you. I don't know if it's morning where you are right now. What time is it right now, where you're at? I release these videos on Saturday morning Chicago time, but we have viewers from all over the world. They're like, I'm just eating dinner right now, or going to bed, or it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I can't sleep, and now I'm watching your video. Get some sleep, people. But always watch in the morning. Ironically, these injectors are not held in by any clips. I'm not sure if they had clips from the factory on this rail, but on both of the Cobra motors I've had, no clips whatsoever. And that's what got sucked in, which makes me believe it was just some clip from something else that the guy before me was using. Click. And you know, we got the MB sunroof grease going on, making everything nice and easy. I'm gonna push these down into the intake. Nice solid seal, and I'll do that 7 more times. 8 injectors are installed, and now we can go back together with our modified factory fuel rail. They welded these 2 fittings on and installed the AN fitting there. These are just gonna slide down. Okay, a little bit of a song and dance to get these all to sit. Okay, we are done. Intake's ready to go on. I've already looked, but I'm about to put the intake back on. I'm just gonna go ahead and look again and just triple check every single time from now on. And we are looking good. Not that much metal jammed in there. Little metal's okay, you know? Nuts and bolts, little things. Just kidding, just kidding. Nothing. It's gotta be spotless. These gaskets can be reused. These are some good quality Ford gaskets. Thank you, Ford. Cleaning out the intake. Got a little bit of oil in there, so it's a good time to do that. And that's what happens when you don't use a catch can, especially with boost. There's gonna be a little bit of oil in the intake. It happens. We'll start from scratch with a nice clean intake. No oil. Oh yeah, she's clean. So clean. Let's get it on now. I'm happy. We'll do one last final shake for the kids. Nothing. Okay. All right, we're safe. Intake going on. Nice and easy. Just like everything on this Cobra has been. Now, after we get this running again, hopefully everything is good, we have a transmission that doesn't shift. Yay, more problems. Hopefully it's not the actual transmission. We gotta get into some hardcore diagnosis. We're gonna have to get Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, on this transmission. Anyone remember that show? It's old school. What is Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman doing right now? Probably healing. There we go. She's down. Install in reverse order. Just gonna zip all the bolts on. You guys have seen me do this a few times. Let's get this thing started again. Okay, hang on. Before we get this thing started, we have to do a little bit of wiring. So our mass airflow sensor harness from the factory is a 4-pin, and it has a separate intake air temperature sensor. But our new mass airflow sensor incorporates the intake air temperature sensor, so we need to splice and cut. More harness stuff. Ugh. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this guy off. Goodbye. And I'm gonna give us a little bit more length. I'm actually gonna stagger it though, so our solder connection isn't just bunched up in one spot, since we have 6 wires to contend with here. So I'm just pulling it out a little bit more on each one. We're gonna start off with pin 6, which is actually our power. It is red, and also red on the factory harness, so that's nice. Twisted the wires together, and now we can slide our solder connection in there, like so. All right, that is done. Something really important to double check is that you're picking the right wiring for the MAF. There's a 0 to 5 volt reference and a ground. You don't want to switch these or you can fry the mass airflow sensor or the engine computer. The diagram's not clear, but I thought that this is the 12 volt, and I am correct. If we put our power lead here and this one on what I think is the ground, we have 0 volts, that's good. And then if we reverse the leads, we should get a negative, and we do. Okay, perfect, we're good. Okay, so now I'll just finish wiring up these guys. And as far as the intake air temperature sensor goes, this one's pretty easy. And there is our 4.6 volt reference at 0 to 5 as well. And we know that the leads aren't flipped, so we know which ones to wire here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this harness is complete, and I was able to find some really nice harness tape, so it's not the shiny stuff. This is more factory. Looks good. Now, before we fire the car up, we have to upload a new tune. So I got this SCT flasher from my friends at Mustang Parts Unlimited. My tuner sent over this tune right at the bottom here. New injectors and mass air, so we're gonna go with that. And this is my first go round with modifying a Mustang, and I gotta say, this Mustang Parts Unlimited, they are pretty awesome, and they carry a ton of stuff, so I'll leave their information linked down below. Coolant going back in, and man, does this feel good to be going going back together without needing to have taken the entire engine out and apart. I was fully prepared to drop this engine, rip that head off, and just get right back into it. And gosh, knock on the car. We should be good, guys. Glug, 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 drink up. Get yourself one of these funnels. They come in kits with different adapters. It's just so nice simply to be able to pour the coolant in here and not spill it all over the place. But also, it helps with filling the system as well. Look at all these air bubbles. Get out. I have the vacuum tool as well, which is another excellent coolant tool, but mine's leaking right now, so we're going old school. While the coolant's glugging away, we'll get our intake pipe back in with our new MAF. There we go, shimmy down and into the mouth of the beast she goes. Get in there. There we go. Nice satisfying click there. Good. I think we're ready to fire. And then also in the new tune is hopefully something that will make the transmission shift. It wouldn't shift last video, but we did find out that we have a transmission out of like a 96 and this is a 99. There's a couple different sensors. I repinned some stuff, so I don't know. Let's just hope the tune fixes it. All right, I think we're ready for a first start. Let's do this. Whoa! What in the world? That is engine oil. No. What? It's gotta be the oil filter. It's gotta be. It's tight. Everything looks fine. What in the world? We just fixed the valve and just, what? You should just, I already drove this car. All right, guys, I had to spin the oil filter around to show you this, but this was on the other side. You can see here, the seal has completely pushed out. Let's get this oil filter off and inspect. I've already done a ton of cleaning, but this got everywhere, including all over the McLaren wheel. It's kind of dripping down from the body as well. It just sprayed out everywhere. I mean, this thing was on there nicely, and I didn't double gasket it or anything. That would be my first suspicion. Okay, and here's our seal. It looks great now. It looks fine. Everything looks fine. I mean, again, with this oil filter and everything exactly the same, I've already had this running for probably a total of like 2 hours, idle time and drive time. No issues whatsoever. All right, guys, I went ahead and I put a Fram on there and the exact same thing happened. I caught that one early because I was kind of looking out for it, but the seal, it did the exact same thing. So the oil filter screws directly onto the oil cooler, and then the oil cooler is screwed on to the block. And what's so bizarre here is that I drove this car for probably 30 or 40 minutes and it wouldn't shift. So we were at like 4,000 RPM. Everything was fine. This makes no sense. But I want to see what's going on with this gigantic bolt that holds it in. I don't know, man. That was a little loose. I'm not gonna lie, that was a little loose. I looked up the spec and it's supposed to be like 55 foot-pounds. That was not 55 foot-pounds. Maybe this wasn't tight. And yeah, I mean, that would make sense. It could back off the pressure and then essentially the oil filter would be loose on there because the threads going into the block would be coming out. Yeah, I'm gonna remove this all the way and inspect. I did drain the coolant again because when we pull this back, we should lose a ton of coolant. There she is. So a little O-ring here that looks to be in good shape. These threads look nice as well. Keep in mind, this is a built motor, so someone had this on and off. They could have just not torqued it. You know what, I'm not gonna mess around. I'm pulling the oil pressure sensor, and we're gonna hook up a mechanical gauge, and I'm gonna torque this. We're gonna put it all back together with the Motorcraft and start it. I wanna see what the oil pressure is. If it's ridiculously high, we could have a problem with the oil pump. There's a bypass valve in there, and if it's stuck, that would not be good. Then we're in taking apart engine time again. Oil pressure switch coming out. There's a little oil. We need to get an adapter into the block for my mechanical oil pressure gauge. Snug this in there. Then we got my trusty oil pressure gauge. I've had this for about 20 years or so. And unfortunately, no real good memories with an oil pressure gauge. Typically, if you're getting this out, it's not good. I mean, I've used it to just verify oil pressure on old abandoned cars. So, I mean, I guess we've had some good times, haven't we? Like the Green Giant. Bad with nicknames, I don't know. All right, we'll tighten up Big Green like this. Clickety clack. I cleaned this up. The O-ring looks good. Let's get this back in and torqued properly. And seriously, do a little dance here, guys, because this is not cool. If we have too high oil pressure, I mean, it's better than low oil pressure. I don't know, I'm just trying to think of the positives. All right, 55 foot-pounds, here we come. That's a lot, guys. There we go, that's it. I mean, this was not torqued properly at all. Let's Back together, get some oil in it. Going Motorcraft, although I don't think it was any of the oil filter's fault. I mean, they all did it. All right, that is nice and tight. There we go. All right, here we go. More oil. Lost quite a bit now. At least a total of 5 quarts throughout all of this. It's fun. Very fun. And what's great is we haven't even really been able to see how it runs with the new tune because this happens almost right away. So I'm still trying to make sure the tune is right. And then we got to move on to the transmission not working and we have oil seals blowing out all over the place. It's wonderful. One step forward, one step backwards. All right, we have the gauge connected. Oil filter, everything's good.
All right.
Oh my gosh, went right to 100. That is way too high. We had to rev it to get it started. We're gonna let it idle now and just see what happens. Go ahead.
All right, stop.
Woo! Did you guys see that? The oil filter just pushed right out. Oh my gosh.
Alright, stop!
It just pushed right out like it wanted to blow up. So before, every time we'd let it run just for a couple more seconds after, and it would just push that oil filter out like it's just ballooning and taking the path of least resistance. Why? Why do we have over 100 PSI probably at, I drove this thing at like 4,000 or 5,000 RPM for like an hour. Granted, it was warm, but we had to get it warm. We had to start it cold at some point. How do we get a rocker that comes off because of a clip underneath a valve? We fix that, we get lucky, and now a whole nother problem before getting to the transmission. I still keep on remembering that I have a transmission that doesn't work either. I mean, this thing is just ridiculous. I got the Motorcraft filter off and look at this. So now that I tightened up that large bolt that holds the oil cooler, the next path of least resistance, since this wasn't loosening up, I think that was happening. I think that since that bolt wasn't torqued, it was loosening and then it would blow out from the seal. But since we fixed that, it blew up the oil filter. Look at this. This little raised section is not normal at all. This used to be flat. It was about to just explode. Okay, so right now I'm thinking it might be a bypass issue with the oil pump. I want to take a look at this oil pump on the old engine. I flip this guy over. We just left a couple of 10s in there last time. All right, so here is our oil pump, and what I'm hoping is that this is the bypass right here. There might be a spring in here if it is, because if that's the case, then I could remove this and hopefully find something that's jammed and fix it. If it's not that, it could be this one here, because there's a little Allen there. That would stink. Then I'd have to take off all of the timing stuff and the whole front timing cover and all the accessories, and just, honestly, I might as well just pull the engine at that point. Let's see what we got. Okay, there we go. And here is our little spring. Yep, okay, that's good. I want to dissect this oil pump and just be 100%. We're not too far away from getting this guy off. A couple of chains, some gears. It's easy when the engine's out, yeah. Okay, there is one oil pump. I have a magnet in here. There we go. Okay, so this is what could be stuck on our oil pump. And it does look like this is the bypass right here, so that's nice. Usually these bypasses open up around 75 PSI. So if ours is stuck and just not opening at all, a lot of oil pumps, especially high volume oil pumps, which I believe we have in here, are capable of producing way over 100. Oh, man, we might have to drop this oil pan. Honestly though, I'm pretty happy about that, because at least it's not this little side guy that requires way more work, okay? Like all the accessories, the front cover, everything. This looks to be nothing, really. It's just an open port there. I'm gonna remove the oil cooler right now, and we're gonna take a look. I've already drained the coolant. It could be the pressure relief valve, like I said, in the pump, but also if there is a big enough oil galley in the engine that's clogged to cause that, and there's oil running through our cooler, and it's a removable part. So let's just take it off right there. Big bolt coming out. Losing a little bit of coolant here. Broke the seal. Okay, there we go. Could this be the problem? There's a spring in here. It feels fine though. Everything looks fine. Kind of looked around as much as I could. This is a pass through. Okay. Since we have the old motor out, I'm gonna remove this plate here and look at how this connects to the engine block. Okay. Okay, there are 2 passages right here for engine oil. Those could potentially be plugged on our other engine. This passage right here, so the top one goes right into here. So that's what feeds the oil filter. So that's the high pressure that's coming in and blowing it out. I'm gonna send the borescope through the old engine block just to see what we can see if we remove that adapter off the engine. And wow, so far we can go pretty deep in here. There is an oil galley right there. And let's see, can we get down in here? Ooh, wow, okay. Let's see if I can turn this. You might be able to peek around the corner. Yeah, it's difficult in these tight quarters. Okay, well that's something. So we just looked at this one. This is the clean oil after it gets filtered that gets sent out to the engine. This right here, if you see the light shining, that is the feed from the oil pump. So the oil pump's gonna suck up its oil from this pickup. It's gonna go through the oil pump out here into the oil filter and then out into there to feed the engine with oil. We can see a lot. I think it's worth it to remove that adapter plate from our engine just in case there's something clogged in there. I am going to save some of our brand new oil here as we might lose some pulling that plate off. Nice clean oil. That's good. Would you guys rather have low oil pressure or insanely high? And I don't even know how high it is because I read that oil filters can hold about 150 PSI, some of them even more. And our gauge is pegged at 100. So what do we got, like 200 PSI? And the engine is using a high output Ford oil pump. I had to check the old footage from the video when I had the front timing cover off. So yeah, I don't know guys, let me know in the comments, how much oil pressure could that possibly make? Looks like we can get to all these bolts, which is great. The last bolt. All right, and the best case scenario here is that we can see clear blockage and clean it out. Best case. Don't see anything yet though. All right, we're going in with the borescope. Gosh, why can't there just be something right there? I mean, come on. Not enough room for the borescope head. I can go move up, but not down. All right, let's go into this one. What do we got? Into the abyss. Nothing. Come on, people. How is there nothing? All right. Yeah, I mean, it's good and bad, I guess. Mostly bad. I was hoping there'd just be a chunk of something, you know, causing a restriction and high pressure, but darn, I think I'm gonna take this oil pan off. All right, guys, here we go. I'm gonna loosen up the rack and lower it a little bit. The Ford instructions have you removing the transmission to take this oil pan out. I'm gonna try to do it without, I can't believe this just came out. I'm gonna try and do it without removing the transmission. We might have to jack the motor up, I don't know. I still just can't believe this is what I'm doing, especially after a couple of days ago, I thought I'd be ripping the engine apart for a different reason. Wow, these came out. And we gotta slide these off the bushings. These are really long. Jeez. Oh, these bushings are being a total nightmare just on this side because it's not covered in engine oil from the oil filter blowing up. Only it would have sprayed oil this way, it wouldn't have hit the McLaren, and I would have been able to get this bushing out easier. There we go. All right, a little shimmy. There we go. Don't kill me. Okay. All right, that's pretty nice. We have this rack completely out of the way and it's being held up by this single wire from the harness. Here's what you want to do. Now the problem is we have this K-member here and from the factory it's probably bigger, so that's why I have to drop the trans. I don't know, we'll see. We'll remove the supercharger return oil now. Okay, I have this harness out of the way, so now we can start with our 10s. Oh, she's opening up. That's a good sign. Unglue yourself. Whew, there it is. There's their bypass. Getting this oil pan out of here is impossible without removing the transmission or jacking up the engine. But right now, all I know is that I can get to the bottom of this bypass. Ow, ow, ah, ah. It's literally the definition of a knuckle buster right there. Right on the bone. I hate this car right now. Oh, my hand hurts. Okay, let's just do this. Please just have something in here, please. Okay, well, there's our spring popping out, cool. All right, that's normal. Here's our spring. Oh, and the bypass is just kind of falling out right now. Jeez, it looks totally fine. No, it looks fine. Gotta be kidding me right now. All right. See if I can get the borescope in there. No smoking gun yet though. All right, got the borescope going in where the bypass was. Looks fine in here too. Looks totally fine. Nice and shiny. At this point, I'm just gonna blow some air through. You can see it coming right out there. Right now I'm putting air pressure through the entire block. This is the main artery that sends oil everywhere. You can see it kind of dripping down. I know this is kind of unscientific, but I mean, it's pushing oil. It's pushing oil. I mean, it obviously branches off into many little different sections, but for there to be a complete blockage here, you'd think there'd be a pretty main artery in the engine that's clogged, if that's the problem. A couple observations here is that this has a lot of little scratches in it, lines going up and down, kind of all over the place. That could indicate that it got stuck. Also, there's a spring height difference. This is out of the engine in the car, and you can see it's lower than this one, and this one actually has more spring pressure. So this is a tighter spring. This one I can push down a lot easier. All right, guys, so here's what I'm thinking. I am going to harvest the parts from the other oil pump we have. I'm gonna use the spring and the valve because the valve on this one doesn't have any score marks whatsoever. And that's gonna be the difference we make right now. And we're gonna hope that this was just getting stuck in there. It's got little micro scratches, it shouldn't, and I'm not sure about the spring. So we're gonna swap it. Let me show you guys before we put this all back together, just how the inner workings here work. So I've removed the cover from the oil pump so you can see these are the oil pump gears and they spin and produce pressure. And this is our valve and it goes in like this. So then before you start your car, this is what it looks like with full spring pressure. It's just allowing a little bit of oil, and then if it runs into an issue with too much oil pressure, it will push down, and then you can see here, this can release a ton of oil, and it just releases it back into the oil pump. So that's basically how it works. This guy just goes like this. So what I'm hoping happened is it got stuck just in this position right here, totally shut, and it would not open. I'm gonna go back together with a little engine assembly lube on this, and I did blow everything out with shop air quite a bit, just to clean out any possible debris. And then a little surgery here. That slides in, feels good. Got our new spring, and so push right up in there. And then I just have to sneak this guy in. It's gonna be the difficult part because we're fighting a spring too. Okay. Literally everything just fell out. Great. Caught it though. I'm gonna try and turn it with engine assembly lube all over my fingers. Great. Let's see if we can get our Allen in there. Okay, I got it. Whew. Started. Yay. Okay. Easy peasy. There you go. I'll tighten. Okay, that's good. Now we just have to clean up the RTV from the oil pan. I think this will move over a bit, yeah. I got a little of this already. It's looking pretty clean. It's actually kind of easy to do. A lot of this will just come right off with a razor blade like that. I'm gonna go around and clean everything up so we can zip it back together and huge fingers crossed here, people. Huge. If this doesn't work, it's a clog somewhere in the entire engine. Who knows where? I don't recommend doing an oil pan gasket this way, but I was able to clean this up pretty nicely. Just took a while, but it's better than taking the whole transmission out to get this thing out. All right, with the RTV applied all the way around, and go back together. There we go. Oil pan's all tightened up, so now we can reinstall the part that accepts the cooler. Going back together with the oil cooler, and this is from the old engine. I'm gonna swap this as well. All right, then we have our gigantic bolt that we're all very familiar with at this point, because we're Ford Cobra pros now, right? If only if this works. If not, I'm a Cobra idiot. Okay. That's on there. All right, not sponsored at all, but I'm going with this K&N performance filter only because it says it's like 200% stronger than other filters, and I will agree with that. I mean, you can kind of like squeeze the other filters, this one you can't. So not trying to band-aid anything right here, but I want to see if I can get this thing to run for more than a few seconds without this exploding, just in case. I want to see if this oil pressure goes down and figure stuff out. Hopefully it just starts up and it's just normal. That would be great. All right, good luck, little buddy. Hope you don't blow up. Right now I'm just putting the old engine oil right back in, and by old I mean it had like no time at all because this thing blew off a million times, so I've done like 3 oil flushes. But I'm going to then drain this and put fresh oil in it. Once again, I used some brake clean when I was cleaning up down there, so just to kind of flush everything out. I'm single-handedly raising the price of a barrel of oil by buying so much. Demand is sky high in the Chicagoland area, let me tell you. All because of my Cobra. All right, in she goes, out she comes. Yeah, just draining the oil now. You guys ever see that movie, The Truman Show? Where it's Jim Carrey and like his whole life is recorded and he lives in this like bubble thing. Lately, I've been feeling that way with my car projects. Like I'm on some kind of car reality TV show and I'm just being pranked like all the time. And everybody's just sitting there. The recording studio is on the other wall over there. And they're just like,
All right, let's throw something in the intake. Oh, okay, he didn't give up. Let's make an oil filter blow up that no one's ever heard of, because you do a Google search of this and there's like 2 threads from like 10, 20 years ago. I've spoken to a bunch of my car friends that have been in the business forever. Never heard of it. No one's ever heard of this. Of course, it happens to me. No one's ever heard of it. There's gotta be a joke. Please, recording studio, Punked, Ashton Kutcher, or whatever, just come out and end this. Please. All right, there's that. Let's go put some more brand new oil in it. Let's see what happens. All right, new oil is in. Gauge is hooked up. K&N is hopefully not gonna blow up. All right, go for it. Okay, it's not blowing up yet. We're at 90, that's way better. It's down to about 85 now, just after like 20 seconds. All right, guys, I ended up putting coolant in. You need that to let it run for any more than 30 seconds, but check this out. It's been running now for, I'd say, about 5 minutes, and we're right at about 50 PSI, which is great. Also, I did talk to my buddy Rusty over at Modern Masters. He daily drove a 2-valve New Edge Mustang for years, and he had aftermarket gauges inside of the car, and his oil pressure, he said, at cold start was 110, and then it would warm up and go down to like 30-ish at idle. And I guess that was normal, 110. So I don't know what this was, because it was pegging out the gauge over 100. It could have been 150 or 200 or whatever is enough to literally inflate that oil filter. But now, the most it was when we first started it was 90 PSI, and that was with having to give it like a 2,000 RPM little flip to get started because of the new tune. Now it's running really good too. Glass. Oh my gosh. This is by far the best it's ever ran. We're pretty much at full operating temperature. This thing's at 35. That's great. This is the bypass valve right now, and I can feel a little bit of air bypassing away. Yes! It's just insta boost with this style blower. This is great, man. Oil pressure's still good. We're bringing it up to about 2,000 RPM now. That's pretty good. 50 PSI. Coolant's getting a little high here. I'm gonna let it go down. She's bubbling. Dude, do you guys hear this thing? It sounds so good. The throttle is crisp. It's most definitely running on all 8 cylinders. Sounds amazing. It's not blowing any smoke out. This base tune is so far so good with these 850cc fuel injectors. But most importantly, this oil pressure seems to be in line. Ford guys, let me know. I know a lot of these have dummy gauges, so it just shows that it's in the middle if it's anything over like 6 PSI. But let me know, Ford guys, if you've ever actually measured your oil pressure on a 2-valve or a 4-valve. Hopefully a 4-valve. Do you get like 100 PSI or 90 PSI at cold start? Is that normal? And did I just have a bypass? Oh, look at this. It's gone. Just sucked it all down. That was hilarious. I wish I caught that on camera. I think we just had a bypass that was stuck. I mean, it had little scratch marks in it. The old one didn't. The spring was a different height. So who knows what was going on there? Maybe it'd been stuck for a while. I don't know. But I swapped everything over and it seems to be fixed. Fingers crossed. I think I'm gonna get an oil pressure gauge in there. We're up to full operating temperature. It's in closed loop now and idling pretty good. I think that's about where we're gonna leave it. And here's our oil pressure. I like it. Oh wait, stop. Turn it off, turn it off. Turn it off. The coolant? Oh, okay. We got a little bit of a coolant leak here. Well, anyway, the oil pressure was good. It's leaking coolant now. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not worried about that though. We're okay. Yay! The oil pressure is normal. So idling around 15 PSI, I'm a big fan of that. Remember, this is a built motor, so looser tolerances. So yeah, that's pretty good. Anyway, let me figure out why it's leaking coolant now. Something I didn't notice in my excitement is that the engine fan wasn't kicking on. So we're gonna have to address that in the tune. It was kicking on before, so that's probably all the coolant leak was. But anyway, we have a new engine computer right now because we did discover there's a difference between the manual transmission computer and the automatic. So believe it or not, the information on the internet for swapping stuff on these Mustangs is not the best. So in speaking with Mike from Mustang Parts Unlimited,
He said he thought there might be a difference with these automatic manual computers, and it looks like there is. One has a blue insert on the inside and one is gray, and it could be pinned differently. So we have a used one. We're gonna try right now, see if we can get this thing to shift. All right, we got the new tune in the computer. Let's fire this guy up.
About 95. It idles at like 1500, so 95 is about the most we're getting at cold start. And yes, I have the gauge zip tied under the car because I'm going to check in the next like 10 cold starts. So I'm going to let this warm up. And we're going to go for a ride and see if that transmission shifts. I'm going to pull this outside though to warm up, make sure the engine fan is coming on as well. Listen to that blower. All right. We had first gear before, but good to have it again. I've let it run outside for about 20 minutes, made sure that the fan is cycling on and off, and it's a little bit of a chilly day, but we have good sunlight, and this is just surreal to me, guys. Look at this car, and listen to this car. This Vortex sounds amazing. It's got a little bit of a chop. Woo! I mean, seriously, guys, this is what 1990s and early 2000s dreams are made of. Oh man, let's go for a ride and hope it shifts. And a really good sign is before we had the overdrive off light permanently on, that is now gone. We got a little data log going on too. Look at this, guys. I just realized I do have an actual real seat, an original seatbelt. Before I was trying to mess around with this crazy contraption here, the bear claw, as I like to call it, but yeah, we're good. Normal seatbelts will be fine. All right, a little cold. Good window motors, good job Ford. Here we go, they're in drive. Please shift. It shifted, it shifted. It definitely shifted, yes! No way! Yep, 1 to 2, felt good. Yeah, we're in third. Yes. Oh man. Let's see, will we get fourth? Okay, it shifted into fourth, although it kind of slipped a little, but I don't think we're tuned for the stall converter like at all, so I'm not super worried about that. This thing has like a 3800 stall, so that's something my tuner's gonna really have to get in the car to take care of. But we are shifting. That is phenomenal. I love this car now. I love you, Cobra. Look at the ad I just got. I was pulling up this free Speedo app thing. AMSOIL, it is good stuff. Link down below, but sorry, I'm closing you. I just need that. Let's see how far off the Speedo is. All right, so we're going 21, and that's showing, wow, 35. So now this is showing faster than this. Before the car was showing like 10 miles an hour less. So yeah, we don't even know what gear ratio is back there, so that's something else we'll have to figure out probably on the dyno when we do the final tune. Oh guys, tunnel. Ride's not the best, it's got a drag suspension on it, but it still handles really well. I gotta say, no front sway bar, it's a race car, but it's all right. And I don't know if it's shifted now. Oh, there we go. It literally has spider webs all inside of the windshield here. Don't worry guys, after this thing is tuned and mechanically good to go, we're doing a massive detail. It's gonna be awesome. I'm just gonna go for a cruise. It's a nice sunny day. I got the traction control light on. All right, I'm just gonna drive this thing around for a little bit, make sure everything is 100% rock solid, and I'm a happy camper, guys. I mean, we had two tiny little parts that cost nothing. The injector, hey, good shift there. The injector clip is, like a 2-cent part, and that little spring in the bypass valve. Those tiny little things can cause so much headache and just totally freak you out for good reason and blow up oil filters and all sorts of bad things. But man, are we finally getting some kind of luck here? I hope so. Another good shift. I am thinking that we don't have fourth gear. I mean, this is slipping really bad, and I can see in the computer it's commanding the gear gear and then it starts to slip. So yeah, we unfortunately do not have fourth gear. All right, guys, even though we don't have fourth gear, I am gonna go ahead and file this under successful. We fixed some seriously scary problems on this engine, and it does shift now. We fixed the problem of it not shifting at all. So we have 1 through 3, but now we're missing fourth gear, which could be internal to the transmission. And you know, bad transmission's usually a big deal, but at this point, I don't care. I will trade bad transmission in for what we got done today any day. We got very lucky on getting that clip out, and then the whole oil pump thing. I'll take it, and I'm just gonna celebrate. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this insane, crazy, emotional roller coaster. I probably lost a couple years off of my life, but if you guys liked it, it was worth it. So give it a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already, and most importantly, have an amazing day, and I'll see all of you in the next video.
All right, compression test is hooked up. Compression tester is hooked up. Hang on one second. That could intake. That could definitely. Here's the other end. Here's what the other end. But that looks like a completely foreign part from a totally different car. Nothing, yeah, nothing even. I loosened up the cam and I pulled a rocker arm. Yeah. I'm gonna be open to that. So I couldn't fit 3 fail-safes. Now what we, next we have to, I didn't do it. We need to get a little, we need to get I'm gonna dissect this oil pump because, but anyway, we have a new engine computer, but we found,